The recording is started. Welcome everybody to the Cloud Custodian Community Meeting. It is July 27th, 2021. I'm going to go ahead and share the agenda. If you haven't, if this is your first time, please remember that we do have a code of conduct in effect, and then we do record these meetings and publish them on YouTube, and the notes and everything we push to GitHub, which I will share with everyone on the screen now. There we go. How's that? Can everyone see that? Oh, give it a second. Here we go. Yeah. So here's the agenda. I'm going to go ahead and just put it in edit mode here so you can follow along while we're having the meeting. We like to have introductions for the first 5 minutes. Is there anyone who this is their first meeting or hasn't introduced themselves yet? This is totally optional. If you just want to listen in silently, that's okay too. But if you want to introduce yourself and say how you're using Cloud Custodian or you have a story to share, now's your chance.
I'll intro because I see some new folks here. My name is Liz and pronouns are she, her, and I'm the developer advocate at Stacklet, and so that is my introduction to Cloud Custodian. And I love it. I'm turning into such a fangirl.
David, it looked like you were about to go.
Yep. So I'm with AWS Professional Services. I've been using Cloud Custodian since about 2017. I know Kapil, and I've helped people implement it for AWS Professional Services projects. I run a Slack channel internally and generally all around found Cloud Custodian and Stacklet.
Alrighty, so this is Akif Sheikh, and I'm working for Code 42 software, and we have been using the Cloud Custodian for the last 4 or 5 years now, and it's been very awesome. We have tried replacing the Cloud Custodian with something else, and we actually had a demo, and a lot of things with different other vendors, what's out there. And we found Cloud Custodian is really, really awesome. We don't have any tool that Cloud Custodian is doing today. That's it.
Welcome, both.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome. Good to hear.
Yeah, welcome.
Oh, and
I wanted to add a round of applause, Akif, for that beautiful post and the amount of work that went into it. I'm sure we'll have more to talk about it. I'm Rohit Kare, recently joined the Stacklet team on product, but thanks. That's all I wanted to add.
You're welcome. Thank you.
What recent post? Was there a blog post or?
Yeah.
The Cloud Custodian replacement.
I'll paste it here.
Yeah, that would be fantastic to put in the notes. Sorry, Mandeep. I think you were next.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Mandeep Ball. I just joined Stacklet last week, coming over from Capital One. I actually worked on Custodian since Kapil first wrote it. I think it was like 2 months in, and I helped him scale it from 3 accounts over to a couple hundred at Capital One. So I worked on Custodian probably about 3 years during the early days, and went and did some other things. But yeah, now I'm back working Custodian.
Wow.
Cool. I'm Jameson Roberts. I'm a solutions architect here at Stacklet. I've been using Cloud Custodian since probably about 2017 as well. I came from Transamerica, Aegon, the global version of Transamerica, and was kind of one of the first members on the cloud team. And yeah, we analyzed many tools for the cloud space, and even the ones that cost millions of dollars a year still did not have all the capabilities that Cloud Custodian does and all the support for resources. And so we ended up using it there, scaled it across over 300 accounts, and doing full remediations across all of our accounts. And it's been absolutely amazing tool. So I'm very thankful and fortunate to continue working with it here at Stacklet, and yeah, do lots of policy authoring and whatnot. So I'm pretty active on Gitter. If you ever need help, AJ and I are on there frequently answering questions. So always feel free to reach out for any assistance.
All right. Anyone else want to say hello?
Hi, my name is Kyle Johnson. I work at Capital One. I've been working with the Custodian team on there for about 2 years now at this point, working with Pertush and John Hilgas. So yeah, I've done a couple contributions to Custodian, just bug fixes and adding some new resources and things. So hi.
Welcome, Kyle. It's great to put a face to the name.
Nice.
Awesome. Anyone else? You don't have to if you don't want to. All right. And lastly, I'll be your host today. My name is George Castro. I joined Stacklet last month as a community manager, and my role is basically to make sure that Cloud Custodian is a healthy open source project. So we started with organizing meetings like this. I'm collecting a lot of information and things like that. So if you have anything that you'd like to see improved as far as communications or events that we're doing or things like that, consider me your person on the ground to do that. And all right, let's get started. So the kickoff items, I've had these here for the last few weeks. First of all, do y'all prefer to see the edit view or the final view when we're doing the meeting? Anyone have a strong opinion there? Sure. All right, we'll keep it in the raw markdown view then. So I have the community repo and the community project board links that I keep at the top of this document, just as kind of reference there. And that kind of shows you my board on things that I am working on throughout the community, whether that's documenting these or having ideas on how to do different community projects. As we go through these meetings, you'll see there'll be action items that people assign to me, and I go ahead and try to coordinate that and put it out in the public so you can see what I'm working on. So if you have something that's on fire, you can ping me, and I'll be happy to prioritize based on how important it is. So any other questions before we move on the format and things like that? It's our third one. I feel like we're getting smoother at it. Agenda items, policy testing. This one's from last week, but I think Marco's on holiday today. Do we want to table this one? Does anyone have an opinion on this one?
I would just say there's a spec out there, really just soliciting feedback for it.
Yep.
If anyone's interested in working on it, hang on Getter and we can start a discussion there.
Okay, please check it out. I will put that on
Or
there.
comment on the issue. There's a policy testing issue, which has like a 7-page Google Doc attached to it. It's to go through the in-depth details. Any feedback on it or interest in working on it, just reach out.
Okay, for the second item, this is evolved from last week as far as making the Gitter experience a little bit better for everyone. I've started to kind of experiment with alternate front ends to like the matrixy stuff, including Elements, which I guess just got some funding, so maybe that client will improve. So really not much to report here. Does anyone have strong opinions on the chat thing? Keeping in mind that we're not going to talk 10 minutes about Slack for the for this meeting. Okay, good. So let's consider that settled, and more to report in the future. I'll just put that for now. Next one, Liz, do you want to talk about this one a little bit? We're having a regular weekly docs sprint sessions.
Yeah. One thing that's really important to me is making this stuff as accessible to everyone as possible. And in going through the docs with the magic beginner's mind, I've noticed some spots where there's definitely opportunities for improvement, or maybe a little bit more clarity, or just something that makes it easier to understand, so we can get more people using Cloud Custodian. And so George and I came up with this I think it's a great idea, to on Fridays host a kind of document working session in which we can take part of the Cloud Custodian documentation and see where we can improve it, find out some of the pain points, and work on it collectively. So if you're someone who also is a writer and would like to use some of your writing skills, this might be fun for you. But yeah, we are starting this Friday. And George, did we figure out which part of the docs we wanted to tackle first? Although maybe I can open this up and ask just really quickly, since we have a bunch of stuff to get through, if
Yeah.
anyone has noticed a point in the docs where, and you can answer this in the chat, that we could work on this Friday. I was kind of thinking about working on the C7N mailer documentation, since a lot of questions in our intro this morning surrounded notifications, and C7N mailer is a part of that. So that's just one suggestion I have, but yeah, that's that. If you have any questions, let me know.
All right. So
George, are
AJ
you going to be sending out an invite?
So
for
I'm
that
thinking.
to the-
I've been thinking about this. I think what we're gonna do is when we start, I'll just send a reminder to the getter when it is. I'm cognizant of not adding it to the calendar because it'll invite like 300 people. So for now, I'm just gonna keep it in there, and then we'll see how interest goes.
We
see.
could also use a PR to the README and/or the Cloud Custodian project itself regarding the times.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, actually, that's what I'll do.
Is that the Cloud Custodian.io page?
I was actually just talking about on the README, but the README, I forgot if that gets republished. We could also put it somewhere else in the docs as well.
Yeah,
to make sure that was surfaced up pretty high.
for sure. Mandeep, you had a question if the docs are still make docs? I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a change really early on from Sphinx to MK docs. I don't know if it went back to.
No, we stuck with Sphinx. We've had our relative pain points. We've incorporated Markdown though, so you can do docs in Markdown. And we have a few docs in there that are Markdown based.
Yep. And then both AJ and David's giving us suggestions. You got those, Liz? Can you make sure you capture that while I keep going?
I got him. Although we're going to
Gotcha.
capture this, the chat is part of we get as part of the recording.
That's right. Yeah, we outsmarted ourselves. Okay. Any other recommendations as far as places you'd see the docs?
The only doc I'd say is like there was a page called Cloud Custodian.io. Go ahead, Will.
Go for it.
Mandeep, go ahead.
All right. I was gonna say there you see a jump page called like Cloud Custodian.io. You go there and it has like Gitter and GitHub and those things, and that got updated. Would be another place. I think it's been a couple of years since that's been updated.
Yeah, I have all sorts of things I want to fix on that page for sure.
Talking about the homepage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is some 80s work that Mandeep did, or 90s work Mandeep did right like a day before project launch.
Reinvent. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
It's a nice way to say if any of you know any front end folks that are looking for an open source project to donate their time to, reach out to your friends. Any other doc related stuff?
CNCF does provide us some help on that when we go to incubating, I think. FYI.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. The next one, this one's yours, Kapil, about renaming master domain in GitHub. You wanted to add this to the agenda last week?
Yeah, so this has been a general trend, I think, through a lot of projects under the aegis of being more inclusive. And unfortunately, GitHub did not, for a really long time, have full support for making this viable for projects with open PRs. They do appear to have closed those gaps. So it is something we could try. I've done it in a few other projects that are smaller, and existing checkouts, everything just sort of works transparently. They'll transparently redirect. So as far as I can tell, it's low risk. I will try some experimentation just to double check that, but don't know if there's any real particular concerns, but if anyone has any or considerations about that, all ears.
I guess the only one I have is make sure we tell people ahead of time so they can update their Git configs and all that good stuff.
So we tell how do we send a message to everyone's forked? I know what you mean.
An announcement in the
Sounds
list,
good.
maybe, or
Sounds
yeah. I don't think that'll hurt. But as far as I've seen, the projects I've seen do this have been it hasn't really been an issue. Anybody else have opinions on this one? Seems like a no-brainer. Okay, this next one, by the way, if you want to add anything to the agenda item, feel free to plop something at the bottom here. We're always looking to support more cloud providers with Cloud Custodian. So we like to get an idea of, how people are using it in all those clouds. So we're actually casting a net to see if anyone is interested in Cloud Custodian on Oracle Cloud. We got reached out by Logan, who's interested in asking what needs or wants would you like to see in if there was Oracle Cloud integration in Cloud Custodian? What particular do you want to see? Like what resources would you like to see monitored? All the kind of stuff that you see in the other cloud providers. So if anyone is using Oracle Cloud and is interested in giving them some feedback, if you're interested in this, you can reach out to them. I have his email address there in the notes, or you can ping me, and I'd be happy to make introductions. And I'll be plopping a similar call for feedback on the list. Any questions?
And I'm just curious, is anyone actually using Oracle Cloud? Would be the first question. But
yeah.
Zoom's used it. Zoom and uses AWS and Oracle, I think. But that's the only person I ever heard.
Yeah, maybe not this channel. I think it's probably a better survey for the getter.
Yeah. So, and Akif, I put a link to your blog post here. I have not read this yet, but thanks for the link there. And then I'll put that in the notes so people can go check it out. And that's pretty much the end of the formal agenda. The way it works around here is once we get through the agenda, we move on to a pull request party where we talk about outstanding open PRs. And basically the idea there is if you have a PR that's open and you want to discuss it in a high bandwidth environment, that's what we use the latter half of the meeting for. So before we get into that, does anybody have any burning issues or agendas? Umair, if you're still here, I'd like to go over the upcoming events. I know we have a workshop tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I see a couple of folks who joined. We started doing regular one-on-ones. So if you have folks who are interested in learning about Cloud Custodian or have peers who want to learn about it, we're doing regular monthly cloud one-on-ones and then followed by a hands-on one-on-one workshop. So we did our first one-on-one today, and that's why you see the smiling face. We had almost 50 people show up, which is awesome. Lots of interaction too, and I see a few folks joined this call too from that. And tomorrow we have a workshop. Space for that is a lot limited because it's hard to give advice to people on a one-to-one basis, but the link is there. There are a bunch of events there. I think you have the Livestream link. I think the next one is in August, and then there will be a couple in September as well before KubeCon.
Yep. And tomorrow's workshop, is this URL right? This
Correct.
is for the 101s. And tomorrow's workshop, is it the same URL?
Yeah, if you have the company URL there, I'll put the workshop on there. If you look at the Stacklet webinars URL, I think you had it at the bottom there. I saw it, but
webinars URL.
That shows all of them. But I can paste the workshop one too.
Yeah, can you toss it in chat? I just want to make.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having URL soup today.
Yep, I just put it in the chat for there. So if you see in this page, there's a drop down. You can pick a date for tomorrow, or the one in August, or one in September.
There it is. I just want to put in the notes, use the drop down. The drop down for August. Choose the session in August and September. All right, and the workshop tomorrow, is that a separate link?
No, the workshop, you have the one-on-one workshop. I think you don't have the link for the one-on-one sessions themselves, the one that was today.
Oh, okay.
I just saw that. Let me just paste that URL there too.
Yeah.
So I think you have the workshop link. You have the workshop link in your the first one. The first one
is the workshop. So
yeah,
we call that the workshop, and the one you just gave me is the
101, right? It's like a today intro to Cloud Custodian. There's no hands-on experience. It's just a demo and PowerPoint.
Okay.
That happened today, right? And both of them have multiple sessions in August and September.
Got you. So here's the URL for that one. Okay, so we have the workshops, and then we have just the intro, and the workshops are more interactive, and the intros are more like a presentation.
Correct. Workshop, we actually are asking folks to bring in their credentials for their AWS accounts. We'll have like a worksheet. People will go step by step and walk through the process.
Got you. So in this one, we bring your cloud creds.
All the requirements are on the page.
Yep, got you. I just want to make sure I got that because I'm sure we'll be repeating these a bunch of times.
BYOC, bring your own cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to provide our cloud, but then we realized that might be too.
Yeah, got you. Okay, so we have those two events coming up. Awesome. And good to see some of the people from today's workshop attend. Welcome. And if you want to introduce yourself, if you want to, optional, up to you. All right. Kapil, I know you're on the road. I don't know how in the mood you are to do PRs while you're sitting in an airport lounge, but want to just table this for next time? It's totally fine.
That one's already done.
Yeah, this was done.
So how do we? Yeah, we should get rid of the stuff that's not relevant anymore.
Yep.
Otherwise, this turns into a never-ending list.
Yeah.
I know Pratyush had called out on having another look at the code deploy one, but
yeah,
TBD.
We looked at this one, AJ, and I think this one we're just kind of waiting on, right?
Yeah, we've got some. There were some concerns about. There are ways that we can address it, and there are concerns about how to do that. So, so yeah, I think that's.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where we are now.
This one I think is backlog. This one is backlog. Have you done this one yet? AWS code deploy application and deployment.
Not yet. We're still discussing that on Gitter.
Oh, hey, welcome back. All right. So no worries. That conversation is ongoing. And CL implementation for filtering.
This one needs a spec. There's a lot of the syntax that gets user exposed is actually in a different repo. And I think some of that, like there's some ergonomic stuff that we could probably do there to make that a little bit nicer. Yeah. So that one probably could use a spec.
Got you.
Or a spec or a proposal that'll convert to our enhancement process once we have that defined.
If you're wondering where the spec item was from last time, I've moved that to the backlog because Kapil's going to be on the road for a little bit, and for submission to the spec is the how we're going to do specs. So we've tabled that one for now, in case you're wondering where that one is. Do we want to look at this one, Lambda policy support destinations?
I don't know that this is particularly. It doesn't really help you write policies. It was foundational for policy testing.
Yeah, you haven't touched it since February. I don't know if.
Yeah, it's just a prerequisite for policy testing.
Okay.
At least for event-based policies on functional ED.
Leave as is. And then value item array filter.
AJ, do you want to cover off on that?
Yeah, well, I can cover some of the issues we run into. I don't have an answer, but I guess you can kind of run through that. I'd say some of the places where we've run into it are, I think with IAM user access keys, that has come up a few times, where we have a resource and there's some number of sub elements there, and we try to have a filter that matches on them, but things get kind of funky with annotating that. And yeah, I don't have a good way to do it. And I'll just ramble if I keep talking. That's where we are.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that there's lots of resources which have arrays and objects in those arrays, and wanting to do multiple attribute matches on a single item, like find an item in a list that has multiple attribute matches. And so this would, the intent on the value item filter was that it would allow for sort of, it would be a closure around a set of sort of value filters that would allow you to match exactly in the sub element, however, across multiple attributes. Like a canonical example of this is like I think the canonical example is like a security group role inside of a group where you might want to do multiple, look at the sitter and look at the ports and look at the et cetera. And we purpose built that in the ingress egress filter, but had it more generic. Is that for me? No. Sorry, checking in.
All right,
Okay,
so
yeah.
this
So
one looks
my
nice.
understanding of this one, yeah, that it's a little more complex, but
Yeah, I thought it might be interesting for other like people that are writing policies today. Like, does this sound like it would be a useful capability?
and it does. I mean, it sounds like somewhere in between what we have with some of the custom filters now. Like again, thinking of the IAM users, like that the way we have access key as kind of a filter under a credential report, which can be kind of gnarly, but it's not quite setting up a whole new child resource that's specifically for one attribute. So that's yeah, I mean, it seems like a useful thing.
All right. Any other comments on this? We've had some people on the road, so we're refreshing some of the older PRs. I'll make sure that we get some nice fresh ones for next time. Does anybody have any outstanding PRs, issues, or bugs that is lighting the world on fire that they'd like to bring to attention to anybody? Before we formally close out the agenda, unless anyone has something else to talk about.
Hey everyone, just wanted to introduce myself. So my name is Muktesh and I work with Adobe. I came from Capital One, so good to see Kapil again. And I saw Alfred today and I was just chatting with him. And we are trying to bring in Custodian here. So yeah, looking forward to work more with you guys. And like Custodian is being used as in parts. And I have done some POCs and stuff, but yeah, we are trying to bring in for like entire company. Not an easy job, considering whatever the Adobe's history is, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Hopefully this kind of stuff will be useful for you.
Yep.
Yeah,
That is
welcome.
major. Thank you so much.
Welcome, Muktesh.
Thanks, Jamison.
So this is Akif. I have one suggestion or a feedback thing.
Sure.
Just like how we have the workshop 101 for Cloud Custodian, I know it's very early, because a lot of people may be new to this thing, but the people who are already using it, I think we should have a session, like, for example, how to use the C7 and mailer or how to use the C7 and Trill creator, So we need a session for those kind of things as well, Maybe we can do a voting thing, the people who are already using it can suggest, what topic they want. And yeah, I think we need that kind of thing.
I kind of dig that, like sort of do a workshop session around each of the tools in the tools directory.
Yeah, non-core things. We'll call them ecosystem or something like that. outside of core for users who are using.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's great feedback, and that's a great suggestion that I had actually been thinking about too. So thank you for that.
A mailer, etc. And then Kapil should just have sessions. Tool folder.
Yeah, I would say one of the things that we're looking to get out of some of these one-on-one webinar sessions and the workshops is what is tripping people up. And we already saw that in the webinar earlier today in the chat. We're going to see some questions that keep coming up, and whether they're Keith, to your point, some of the tools that are kind of orbiting around the outside of core. But we also get some questions about some of those core features that come up more, some of the more advanced bits of the value of the filter, for instance. And some of those are worth a separate deep dive. So thank you.
Yeah. All right, we'll noodle on that. Any other feedback?
I think something that is becoming more apparent is how to manage, an org-wide approach versus account by account, and some best practices. For instance, you have 100 policies. How's a smart way to go about it? Amalgamate. Maybe go through some of the GitOps flows. Like, how should we manage this when you want to do sort of divide and conquer? For instance, have policy files with particular teams, merge them and run them sort of like, operationalize at scale. Probably ties back to the previous, request that it's one thing to run a single policy on 5 accounts. It's completely different ball game when you have an org with 300 accounts, and you need to have, who knows, 50 to 100 policies. Some best practices, some good things to think about. I think that'd be really helpful, because of course we want to do it right. You don't want to hack it and then have like a whole mess, and then later on have to spend sort of technical debt time to make it proper. And just optimization. I mean, again, I'm always fascinated how quickly it runs parallelization, and usually that takes care of a lot of it. Clearly, the bigger the boat, the faster it goes. But I know there's a bunch of tricks, that every now and then I have to like copy and paste into my email and go like, yeah, there goes Jameson, another nugget that I better remember when I get to that bridge. I think there's definitely that part of the care and feeding for Custodian at scale.
Yeah, I love that idea. And I've actually thought about kind of doing some sort of a workshop or talk on something similar. So I know at Transamerica, one huge hurdle we had was we started writing all these policies, and then we started, trying to deploy them, do remediations, and we ran into some huge roadblocks where developers didn't want to have anything to do with it, and they pushed back. And there's a lot of pushback on doing remediations and stuff like that and getting to actually do work. And so we had to create a custom process within Transamerica via the upper management and working our way down through all the teams and divisions to kind of set up a workflow and policy deployment schedule and all that stuff to be able to have the proper support behind us to be able to deploy remediations, and then have set up a schedule of which policies we're deploying each month for the next year in advance. And then we'd have like weekly meetings with each of the company's developer groups working in the cloud to kind of discuss the upcoming policies that are going to be deployed, how they're going to interact with their gear, what they need to do in their templates to fix stuff like that. And then we would, deploy to Canary first, wait a week, deploy to dev, wait a couple weeks, and then deploy to prod. And that whole process of getting people together, getting the right people together, and then that communication channel with the developers, so they know what's upcoming. They can plan up to a year ahead with their sprints of what to fix and what they'll have to have fixed by when. And so by laying all those pieces out, making the visibility and whatnot, we were able to get over that hurdle, and now they're successfully deploying tons of remediation policies every month. And we would have been just dead in the water without that process. And I know other companies have ran into those challenges. I hear from many people, oh, we can't do remediations in our environments. Developers would get, really upset, or we don't have the approvals and stuff like that. So some sort of talk along those lines to help teams kind of give them suggestions of things they might be able to do to get beyond those hurdles and actually be able to have a fully functioning and planned out custodian deployment, I think would be great. Does that resonate with anybody else on the call?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I call it OSI layers 8 and above,
Awesome. Cool.
And I think another one that'd be amazing is a workshop on the C7 mailer. I think that one probably, requires quite some insights to be done correctly. I think probably a third of the questions are usually like, I deployed a mailer just at the default template. How do I make that thing send what I want? And to be honest with you, Jameson, if you didn't show me, I couldn't make it out from the docs. Maybe I'm not smart enough. But I think it's one of those where if someone sees it, they're going to go, aha, I get it, and then they have a recording of it. So in the docs, people can go like, okay, go watch the YouTube Academy,
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I've thought about this, but I haven't said it publicly yet for commitment reasons. But I really love when docs have like an embedded, 30-second video for that specific feature, where it's like just someone's terminal, so you can read the thing, but then you can also like hear what the developer intended for the feature and things like that. It helps add context. So we could definitely do.
And I think mailer is almost like, I think one of the cornerstones or foundations you need to set up when you use Custodian. So it's something that should be in.
Okay.
Sorry, Kapil, go for it.
No, I absolutely agree. I think mailer is a core part of Custodian. It's just distributed separately, or it's a separate installation because it's just being able to operate it in a separate way. But it's very much a key aspect of the value chain that we try to promote with Custodian, and both in terms of driving behavior change and notifying people before you delete their stuff, you name it.
Yeah.
That's all key.
Fine, I very much want to see what your template read like when you like deleted those, like what they got. Congratulations, I've deleted your account.
Yeah, right. No, I think that one would be really helpful, and maybe we can keep chipping away on those topics, the tough ones.
Yeah. All right, so a separate workshop and give the docs love there, I think would get us way better than we are now. Any other feedback while it's all fresh?
I really like this meeting. Thanks for hosting.
No worries. I like to get. To me, it's all about a cadence. If you run into a problem, that you're only one Tuesday away from being able to reach someone, and that's kind of why I wanted to do that. So if you ever run into a pet issue, or you find a pet bug and you have a PR that's burning on fire, we like to use this as a relief valve. But with that, we are at the end of the agenda. Does anybody else have any feedback? Or you get 15 minutes back. You got accounts back and you got 15 minutes back today. All right. As usual, I'll clean up the notes and all that good stuff and put them in the community repo under the discussions, and I'll be sending out those URLs and links. And then Liz will get the video published and up on our YouTube channel. Any other questions? Final comments? Kapil, you look like you're at least enjoying good weather.
Looking out at Alcatraz.
Oh, wow. You're out in the West Coast. Nice.
Awesome. All right. And with that, we are done with the meeting. Have a good day, everybody. And keep on cleaning up those accounts.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye, guys.
Thanks,
Cheers,
everybody.
everyone.